Hello, I'm Michael Rosen, and I'm going to say something really obvious. Shakespeare's plays and poems are full of language. Well, of course they are. They were written. Writing is words. Words are brought together to make language. Shakespeare wrote language. As I say, how obvious is that? But people like me go on and on about Shakespeare's language. We love talking about Shakespeare's language. Now, why would that be? Because we think it's special. We think there's something very special about how he put words together to talk about, well, many, many different things. But hey, not much point in me talking about this language. Much better to get right in and show you what I mean about the language being special. Now, here's something that one character says to another. There's been a storm and a shipwreck. A man is washed up on an island. Someone who lives on the island is called Ariel. And Ariel says to this man, "Full fathom 5 thy father lies. Of his bones are corals made. Those are pearls that were his eyes." Full fathom 5 means how deep in the sea the man's father lies. It's just over 9 meters or 30 feet. But Ariel doesn't say that. He says full fathom 5. Can you hear the f sound 3 times? That's how we can make language sound musical. Full fathom 5 thy father lies. Imagine hearing that as you sit washed up on an island after a huge storm. Then you hear, "Of his bones are coral made." In just one night, your father's bones have turned to coral and his eyes have turned to pearls. Those are pearls that were his eyes. Those are pictures painted with words, rhythm and rhyme. Full fathom 5 thy father lies. Of his bones are coral made. Those are pearls that were his eyes. Beautiful and horrifying at the same time. And do you know what? It's a trick anyway. The man's father isn't really drowned and lying deep in the sea. But maybe the music of the words helps Ariel trick the man into really believing that this awful, sad thing has really, really happened. What do you think? So there's an example of how Shakespeare's language works, how it's special. And something else. It may be very special, but that doesn't mean we can't have fun with it. And even have a go ourselves at trying out some things that Shakespeare tried. So let's begin with some witches. Now these witches aren't really the same as the witches you meet, say, in a story like Hansel and Gretel. You remember the witch in Hansel and Gretel? She lived in a gingerbread house, didn't she? And then what? She tried to trick the children, but they were cleverer than she was. You know the story, I'm sure. Well, these witches in Shakespeare, they're more like fortune tellers, people who know what the future is. Or maybe there's even a hint that they control the future. Do you know what that means? That means there's a hint that they arrange our lives because they have power over us all. Anyway, that's who they are, but how do they talk? I'm asking that because that's what we're looking at today, Shakespeare's language. So when I say this, you have to imagine it's not me saying this. It's going to be 3 women and they're cooking up a spell. They're sitting or standing round a cauldron, a great big pot, and if they get the spell right, they'll be able to see what's going to happen to the man they're about to meet. And he's called Macbeth. And here's a hint. Are they doing this so that they can destroy him? Aha. So here's the speech. Double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble. Fillet of a fenny snake, in the cauldron boil and bake. Eye of newt and toe of frog, wool of bat and tongue of dog. Adder's fork and blindworm's sting, lizard's leg and owlet's wing. For a charm of powerful trouble, like a hell broth, boil and bubble. Double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble. Cool it with a baboon's blood, then the charm is firm and good. Now, what did you notice about the words and language here? Well, I bet you noticed that it rhymes. Eye of newt and toe of frog, wool of bat and tongue of dog, yes. And when you rhyme like that, that's called rhyming couplets, meaning rhyming pairs, if you like. Now, what else did you notice? The rhythm, perhaps? Watch my fingers. Double, double, toil and trouble. How many times did I tap my finger? You do it with me. Double, double, toil and trouble. So how many times was it? Last time, double, double, toil and trouble. How many times was it? Yes, 4. So this is what we call a 4-beat line, yes? So now we know we've got 4-beat lines in rhyming couplets. So Shakespeare must have thought, how can I make my witches sound like they're chanting a spell that sounds magical? Maybe he thought, I'll think of things, all the things that go in the pot and put it into this 4-beat rhyming chant. So all that is to do with the sound of language in a poem or a song. Do you want to know a posh word for that? It's called prosody. Prosody. By the way, I read that speech in my kind of a way, but you can read it in your kind of way. Yes, you could change the prosody by making it sound your way. Shall I give you a suggestion? What if it was a rap? Yes, some raps are written in 4-beat rhyming couplets. Now, you'll be much better at this than me, but let me see if I can have a go, and then you can have a go at doing this too. Join in if you've got a copy of it. Here we go. All right, you ready? Double, double, toil and trouble, fire, burn and cauldron bubble, fillet of a fenny snake, in the cauldron boil and bake, eye of newt and toe of frog, wool of bat and tongue of dog, adder's fork and blindworm's sting, lizard's leg and owlet's wing, for a charm of powerful trouble, like a hell broth boil and bubble, double, double, toil and trouble, fire, burn and cauldron bubble, cool it with a baboon's blood, then the charm is firm and good. Hey, we've done a Shakespeare rap. Oh, if only you could have heard us, eh? Now, do you notice anything else about the language of this chant? I'm asking you this because I'm going to give you a suggestion of some writing that you can do in just a minute. Now, in the poem, there's a lot of sounds that are similar. I'll give you one example. Fillet of a fenny snake. I'll say it almost as if I'm spitting out the words. Fillet of a fenny snake. Here's another one. A lizard's leg and owlet's wing. You know what all this is called, don't you? Yes, do you know the word for it? It's alliteration. Yes. And now something else. A lot of the chant is really a list. Yes, a list of ingredients like the list that you get at the beginning of a recipe. If you're, let's say, baking a cake. In a lot of the lines, there are 2 ingredients, and each ingredient is something of something else. Wool of bat and tongue of frog, that's right. And that kind of line happens again and again. So it's tum of tum and tim of tum. That's what we call the structure of the line, as if it's like the structure of a building, say, or maybe some Lego you were making. But what is this building made of? Yes, it's made of pictures, or what we call images, but pictures of what? What have we got? Snake, newt, frog, dog, lizard, baboon. What are they? Animals. And we've got bits of these animals. It's a spell made up of bits of animals. So now I'm going to give you a writing suggestion. You could try to write another spell for these witches. That means talking in the same way as they do. You remember what we've got? Rhyming couplets and 4-beat lines full of bits of animals. You could help yourself by borrowing Shakespeare's lines to start you off. You remember how it opened? Double, double, toil and trouble, fire, burn and cauldron bubble. And then you carry on from there with your animal bits. All right, let's see if we can have another suggestion now. You don't have to stick to that 4-beat line if you don't want to. You could make it longer or shorter or mix it up, have both. And maybe you can think of another way to make your words sound spooky and magical. Or maybe you could have one of you doing what's called, in music this is, rhythm and bass. Yes, with a few words said over and over again, while another one of you says the spell at the same time. So that's just like music. So one of you could say, and keep on saying to make the rhythm and bass, double, double, toil and trouble, double, double, toil and trouble, double, double, toil and trouble, while you make up your own things to say at the same time. Yes? So you could say, eye of goat, double, double, toil and trouble. Knee of sloth, double, double, toil and trouble. Yeah, so you've got rhythm and bass, and then these things over the top of it, as we say. So, okay, how about something different? What if you set these witches, or we might call them fates, people, men, women, aliens, whoever you want, but we set them in the present or the future. That means you could make up your chant made up of anything, not necessarily bits of animals. What about bits of old machines? So this is like some kind of mishmash of technology gone wrong. Case of phone and laptop screen, smashed up car and lorry wreck. And then you could have that rhythm and bass underneath, double, double, toil and trouble. How about that?